All right, so here we are back this week, and we're starting a new series called Setting the Ideal Environment. What is this called coming to? We've talked kind of about the doom and gloom in the last few weeks, and we're just setting the stage now up to build everything up, starting our foundation, understanding what it's going to take in order to make sure that great things happen. And where does that start? On setting the ideal environment. So, Joseph Gantar with Gantar Enterprise. And so, what does it all kind of start off with when you're setting the ideal environment? This is the cornerstone, if you want to really call it, to moving in a direction of accomplishing great things. And so, how does this all happen? Well, what happens is you have to recognize a couple of things. What do they look like? Well, the leader must be able to create a sense of influence that will be lasting for those that are going to be led by this individual. So, whenever you're looking at building influence, I always like to try and go along the lines of trust, accountability, transparency, and then all of a sudden you have something there's called a bit of a rapport, relationship, and then over time, what happens is that kind of grows and it really roots itself in an opportunity situation where you're finding yourself not just saying, "Oh, this is a great working environment." More often than not, what I've always have done in the past is try to reward those in a manner of understanding what rewards are actually the most beneficial to that individual. Some, it might be swag, like hoodies, shirts, hats, coffee mugs, whatever. Others, it's time. So they're like, you know what? Just take like the next couple hours off. You've worked really hard this week, and you just like let them go. So that's kind of a few of the moving parts behind the scenes on how you actually understand where people are at, how are they coming together, where are they going, how are they getting there, and then coming to this point and then establishing that blitzing type of environment where that culture just wants to thrive, strive, and excel. So how does this all come together? Well, we're going to get a little bit more in detail now on from what I just explained, but then how the steps or what it looks like in this next phase on how things are going to be coming together. So you got to come alongside them. You have to really be able to embrace their journey, and that's not just your journey, even though you have a vision. I know I always say, I got a dream, I got a vision, I want to do things, I want to accomplish things, but that doesn't mean anything if nobody else buys into it. And what does it mean by buying into it? It's understanding that it's not all about me, it's actually more about them, in the sense of they must see your intentions are for the betterment for them as well. This cannot be a one-way street. If it is, it's only a matter of time before everything falls apart. When it does, it will fall very hard. So if you're looking into trying to accomplish something and it's just like, hey, like we're going boom, 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 production, 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 I have always been a huge advocate of having barbecues or having some type of a recognized, established system where others feel valued, appreciated, respected, and more importantly, recognized. Just knowing that they're actually putting their hard work and efforts into something and then knowing that that's not going to go void. For me, I've seen a lot of different scenarios and people that I thought were going to be very difficult to deal with ended up actually turning around because I sat down, had the conversation with them. What is the most important part of a reward or a recognition system? Because not everybody wants to be held, you know, in a certain way and recognized in front of their peers. Sometimes it's more of like, hey, I want to be recognized in the sense of just giving me a couple of hours off or letting me just kind of like do something a little bit more along these lines. And that even itself is still productive in the sense of getting things done and efficiently, but then they're able to kind of do the nice to do things and not the I have to do things. And that's really worked well for myself in working in larger organizations when I'm in a position of overseeing, or when I was overseeing in these situations around 30 plus people. And so there's a bit of a mismatch on, you can kind of blend certain people, one or two people at a time, doing odd things that they really want to do instead of having them do the things they all absolutely have to do. So now that it's all kind of transpired into a completely different opportunity, here I am doing much more different things. So no matter the vision, those that are in a following role will never buy into the vision or dream until they see the buy-in from the one that is leading with the follower's best interest. So you got to come along them, and almost, it sounds really cliche and even like a gimme, where it's like you got to come alongside them and just like embrace their journey with them, in the sense of allowing them to experience a very rare moment in some cases where someone actually is out for their best interest and wants to walk alongside their hardships, or in that season of whenever they're dealing with very difficult times and tribulations. And this just, you don't even have to fix it. I've always just listened, ask them a couple of questions, kind of like who, what, where, when, why, and how, something along those lines, and how that all kind of, stems in from the situation or circumstance. And then all of a sudden they open up and you just listen. And sometimes you just got to listen for a couple of minutes. And really, unfortunately, in some, dark doom and gloom cases, it's a couple of hours. But then having those couple of hours actually transpired in, much more productive days. So I was willing to sacrifice a small segment of time, which may have seemed in the moment a very large portion of my day, was actually very beneficial in the recent weeks to come, because I was able to really compound the interest from that initial seed that I was listening to an individual. So has to be a win-win. First, they have to see a win on their end before you even think about the win on your end. So cultivating trust is an absolute. If it is not created, or if it is and it is broken, the whole mission, if you will, is completely wiped out, cleaned until restructuring occurs in most cases. So once trust is actually established to a certain degree and then broken, then you're going to be looking at, okay, it's more than a mess, because it's now, people are going to start questioning your character, integrity, and transparency and accountability on many different accounts. So when you're looking at things and how they're supposed to come together and transpire and really magnify a culture of, ideally, productivity and efficiency and safety and things of that nature, and trust is broken, especially on the safety end, when you don't know, like in some industries, if you're actually going to be going home that night. I've been in those situations, and it's you just see people quitting, and then they're trying to figure out, okay, well, we're just going to rehire. And the unfortunate thing is that when they do this whole rehiring thing, it's never at the same caliber of the original authentic group or team. And it's a real mix, because I've seen it where it's a massive benefit and then a massive downfall. So it's a real long shot in most cases. It's very unfortunate, just because you're also wasting a lot of time and money and resources in bringing other people up to speed in your, self-sustaining ecosystem. That's what a company is. It's really, you're either providing a service or a product, and then all of a sudden you're collaborating on certain tasks and policies, procedures, and execution methods on how to actually make sure that things are able to follow through on certain schedules, timelines, and return on investment. So when you're putting an investment on someone, you're also looking for the return on that. So if these things are not lining up, and if they're not coinciding, then all of a sudden you have all of these other moving parts that are bottlenecking, and just, they're a real clog, unfortunately, when it comes to the bottom line. And next thing you know, you're choking yourself out internally, which is, you're imploding. That's basically what it comes down to. You're imploding. So really trying to do whatever you can to establish whatever you can, and never lose an inch of that ground off of something that could be detrimental. So just food for thought there. So cultivating trust, what does this look like? And in most cases, it looks quite simple. It looks quite elementary, cliche-ish, and also, are you kidding me? So be transparent and patient, seeing things in their eyes, always understanding that there's going to be a lot of different things happening. And when you have a very busy day, or when you're having a very busy week, or if you have a very unique situation where you're trying to complete a project and then all of a sudden you're finding yourself in a compromised position, that's when you have to be transparent, but then still patient. So you got to be aggressive in the work, but patient in the result. And then if you're able to see things in their eyes in that situation and circumstance, great things are bound to happen. So seek to find their hopes and dreams, having a hard conversation annually or every 2 years to make sure that everything is aligning in the same direction. Because if you have a single vision, thinking that this person is going to be aligned with that for decades, essentially you're setting yourself up to be very, very out of touch with whoever you are supposed to be building up and equipping, empowering, and educating to become the best versions of themselves within that organization very quickly, because dreams change, people change, life circumstances change. So having a hard conversation, like asking those that you're working with, what are your dreams? What are your goals for the next 6 months, a year, 2 years? And then every year you follow up. Hey, well, how did that 6 month goal? Are we on point with that 1 year goal? Are we on point in getting to that 2 year goal? Or have they all changed? And what happened in that process? Where are we at now? How do we recalibrate? How do we see things in a way where we're able to actually see the victory, in the sense of, okay, now I need to maybe potentially do a lateral shift with this person in the organization, and maybe it actually makes more sense to actually do this so that they're able to be more effective and productive in having them working in that area versus this area, and that department will thrive because of what that person brings to that team. Understanding these types of moving parts are essential, but also very critical, and allowing you to always see things in a grandmaster chess level when others potentially are just playing checkers. So this will also transpire externally. If you're able to keep things internally very efficient and effective, externally, we'll see down the road here how it'll transpire. So building a bridge of the organization's goals to the individual's goals, and that's where you have your 6 month, 1 year, and 2 year goals, trying to drive them into a sense of, hey, this is not ours only, this is everybody's. So continuously striving and thriving as a group, that to a couple of different degrees have the personal and professional goals aligning in the same direction. There's a bit of overlap, yes, but as still, for the most part, you want to keep these things quite separate. And that's basically where we're going to go in to seek that win-win outcome for both sides. However, there's a lot more to this. There's a lot more trying to really dive into and really see. So we'll do that next week when we're setting the ideal environment, part 2, at 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 p.m. per Eastern. So until next time, work hard, stay